It's very nice to be here with you. And for those who don't know me, my name is Camila Moreno. I'm from Brazil. My background is in philosophy and in law, and then I have master's, PhD, and postdoc on sociology, and especially looking at the new carbon economy, the bioeconomy, the green transition. I have been working not only as a researcher, but also with civil society coalitions from the environmental movement in Brazil for the past 2 decades. I'm part of a large coalition that has been opposing what we call the financialization of nature, which is the upcoming markets for environmental services as carbon, biodiversity, water offsets, and the like. And in this capacity, I have been participating as an observer in the UNFCCC process in all the climate negotiations, the COPs, but also the substance that are the technical negotiations that happen every year in June in the city of Bonn in Germany since 2008. So I think this COP in Dubai, it was my 15th COP that I attended to. So I'm quite familiar with the process of shaping global environmental governance at the UN level and how this trickles down in national policy. This is what I follow in Brazil, how we translate the new regulatory framework and what are the impacts of all those new laws and regulations and taxes and new markets on the ground, on the production and the economy side of especially small farmers and peasant in Brazil. The agenda has been going on for a while. There was a work program called Coronivia work program on agriculture. And all this was in a real slow pace because it was opposed by many countries, many developing countries, that we should not, in the context of reducing emissions and reducing the use of fossil fuels, actually to bring the developing world and the least developed countries with their agricultural sector as an opportunity to offset what was the industrial side of the problem or the ones that should be tackled by technology. But in the past 5 years, I would say, the whole thing about nature-based solution as a new narrative started to gain traction. And especially since the Glasgow COP, after the post-COVID era, the whole agenda on agriculture, and especially how they frame it as shifting diets, you know, the whole thing about substituting protein from animals, be it meat or milk alternatives, or even milk and dairy, but also eggs. It was really becoming a big topic of the agenda because of all the startups and the technological advances and the patents that are involved in actually offering this whole new realm of a new generation of products to substitute animal protein. If you look at the details, it of course is a big technological package that is meant to be sold to the developing world. It's like a new green revolution. The FAO is strongly involved in this. This is all packaged within the 1.5 mission, the idea that we need to not only keep the warming to the maximum of 2 degrees compared to the 1850 pre-industrial era, but we have this half degree that will help us with ambition. And to reach this half-degree difference, that is like a constant note that you probably heard in the media and specialized like TV shows talk and analysis on the media, you actually need this plus that only technology can give you. So this means speed up the digital transformation in food and farming, and combines biotech for the seeds. It combines a huge package of drones for precision agriculture, the automation of machinery that is also agricultural machinery that is connected to the new layer of early warning systems for extreme weather events and for meteorological services in general, because then you can also sell to farmers, even small farmers in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, or in African countries, granular, as they say, scale insurance. But this kind of insurance, which of course it's needed in a changing climate, it's connected to people accepting to shift their agriculture and farming practices to one that is vertical integrated with high tech, and of course more markets for this emerging finance related to climate. But if I may add something else, for the middle classes, for the classes that are not and for the public that is not directly connected to food and farming, the way that the agricultural agenda has been inserted, it's regarding the diets, how to align your diets with climate change. And in this case, we see the IPCC, the Working Group 3, which is not more on the physical science based, but it's the one that is more and more bringing new subjects to the table, prescribing what would be the correct diets, the climate-aligned diets for global population. So I think this we are actually stepping into a very complicated and prescriptive side of how global environmental governance and global climate governance in specific is actually working in tandem with some questionable social engineering in terms of what kind of food systems and food and farming systems are reshaping, and what are the real interests involved in this kind of transformation. I think first and foremost, there is a big push towards indoor farming. I took some pictures at the World Bank pavilion where they have like the number one, they had like a photography prize of the future of agriculture. And the number one photo was like this inside a big container facility with ultraviolet light, you know, someone like with oriental or Eastern features dressed as a scientist, you know, in some stairs, just looking like in a lab, this kind of small sprouts that they were cultivating. So I think there is a push for some kind of food that is called soilless vertical agriculture that does not need sun or even soil to be produced, you know, that you can actually transform it as a new industry. This is very important. We have this constant talk about the deindustrialization of the Western economies as China becomes the factory of the world. But there is at the same time a slow but for sure transformation of food and farming as a new industrial sector, you know, that we are being separated from what were the traditional practices of cultivating the soil regarding our cultural patterns of, you know, diet and ecological management of the diverse ecosystem into a unified, globalized sector that can compete in producing the few vegetables that are in the interest. But I think also there is a very clear message, and this was very strong also in the Food for Climate Pavilion that was going on within the big expo park where the COP took place, about something I've been observing over the past 4 or 5 years, which is the protein transition. They really want to, and when I refer to they, it's not some conspiracy talk, is the class of technocrats that are within UN environmental agencies, also at the FAO, but also very key people that play within think tanks that internationally feed into ideas for public policy shaping worldwide, but also NGOs heavily funded, dedicated to this programmatic shift in, you know, installing in the public conversation, but also in the regulatory framework, be it in Europe, be it in other countries, that, you know, one major climate action that individual citizens can do, is shift in their diets that are fully based on industrial protein, poultry, and factory farming. Nobody wants that. We understand all the dangers and all the impacts and how horrible that is. But the point is that the message going forward is that instead of shifting to a more, approachable way of eating locally produced protein with farms and farmers that are sensible to the ecosystem, to the traditions, all the agenda that you have been involved for many, many years, what is being presented to the masses is that, okay, we can produce what you want, that is globalized diets of hamburgers, chicken nuggets, sausages, and the whole McDonald's-like diet that has spread all over the world in the past 20 years, we can produce as simulacrum of the protein. So actually you can use soy, mostly, we know GMO soy, and we can flavor it with fake flavor of meat, of chicken. Now they are producing even kebabs and cod and shrimp and even salmon out of this whole plant-based paste, whatever that is, and selling it as a meat substitute or meat alternative. And then, of course, you have the whole generation of milk alternatives we call fake milk, that are also, again, with high environmental impact, even from soy or from the almond monocultures. But you can fake mayonnaise, you can fake eggs out of a very heavily chemical, ultra-processed base. Then you have this whole other generation, which are the meat that is, you can cultivate the very cut without killing the animal. That is, I don't want to get into the subject here because it goes very far, but this is quite a sci-fi also part of the agenda, that you can still eat and enjoy meat, but without the animal, like you just cultivate the very cells. But both of those two emblematic examples of the dystopic future for food and farming, I think they are quite illustrative of how, when people think that governments go to the COP to decide on reducing fossil fuels and cutting emissions, what is being negotiated and what is being normalized, this is very important, normalized in the agenda, is actually big shifts, big transformative shifts that will impact us more and more as we see how this behavior change is being promoted with new taxes imposed on, for instance, meat. This is the case in Brazil. We just approved a big tax reform that actually will increase year by year the tax on the whole cuts of meat, just to generate for the people that are in this in the context of economic depression and losing purchasing power, to access this new this new generation of foods that are aligned to climate, aligned to the 1.5 degrees warming scenarios, but actually are have been designed by the industry and by the corporate world, and it's not up to citizens to decide and to define what do they want to eat in the future. With very profound debates, for instance, the discussion about the debt, the indebtedness of many countries, developing countries, that do not have fiscal space to actually discuss or think in terms of public budgeting to solve their own needs. So as we're talking before, you have to present your country and present sectors of your economy, be it health or education or farming, as investment opportunities to financial and corporate actors. And this is eroding the sovereignty and the very nature of what is national interest. You were just questioning, how the peasants and small farmers in the developing world are screaming, give me fertilizer, give me fossil fuels, and this appears as a contradiction, because we would like for them to continue their agroecological practices, which are much more integrative and localized way of producing their food. But then it comes the factory farming of imaginaries that are spread through these devices that we use every day, through computers, but also through, let's say, Netflix and all the likes, that actually shape one way to see the modernity, one way to see the developed world. And this is very strong, to counter this kind of propaganda of what a good life is, and how we should prepare and to be more climate resilient. It's a whole package that is based on biotechnology, extreme biotechnology, I would say, because as you are producing food without sun, without proper soil, and the water and the nutrients that are going to be fed to this, and important to note, they are promoting desalinized water and desalinizing water plants to feed into these new industrial compounds. They are heavily protected by intellectual property rights, of course. It has never meant to be some kind of open source, new global commons kind of food. No, it's to actually be an opportunity to investment. And we see how heavily the international financial system is entering into this new asset class that it's connected to turning carbon in a global commodity, but also the possibility to actually invest in regenerative agriculture. So the name is really beautiful, how to regenerate, but actually you are regenerating your profits, because you pull money from pension funds, even from sovereign wealth funds, and you promote that this is a shift that will inevitably happen in the future. So the first comers, the first ones to invest, will actually secure their place in this global shift that is happening. And if you look closely, Tracy, it's quite sophisticated how they promote it, because they come up with social sciences and behavior sciences surveys and trials that show that more and more younger people everywhere do not find more farming as appealing as before. So if you want to keep young people on connected to the soil, connected to the land, and living in the rural areas, you have to bring in the whole gamification package to make the workforce, to make attractive for the workforce, for the younger workforce. So I saw in this COP, as in the COPs before, in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt past year, and also in Glasgow, this very odd scenes of portraying the farm of the future as some young boys and girls with VR, which is virtual reality glasses, with drone joysticks as they use for gaming, just seeing far away in the fields, how to just drop, agrochemical pesticides, and you kind of make it playful, but it's a way that you don't put your hands on the soil anymore. So you bring the digital world as a new layer into the food production, and this, of course, will even if you look at the countryside and you see small little people, operating drones and joysticks, we know that this is not real farming. This is not the kind of seed sovereignty that I think we both believe that is at the core of regenerating truly ecosystems and have sovereignty over our foods and our diets and our culture. The big digital transition that we are in the fast forward mode since the COVID era, it has all been dragged under the big umbrella of climate. So CO2 and the whole reductionist approach to climate as a CO2 molecule that we can manage, that functions as the thermostat of the planet Earth, I have been very vocal in criticizing how anti-ecological that vision it is, because it actually denies, those are the denials, no? The denial of the complexity of ecological interactions, how ecological regulation and ecosystem are essentially place-based. So this whole narrative of net zero and offset, you need to forget the soil, to forget the land, to forget where you are based and grounded and anchored on, and look to the atmosphere, to look at the air and understand that at the end, everything can be negotiated and exchanged in a cost benefit analysis, or the least expensive. It's always the best, where countries who have money to pay can buy their offset way, can pay for their sins. Buying, for instance, I think you mentioned this in the questions you sent to me. I buy Zimbabwe's right to pollute because they have not contributed yet to the global carbon budget. I also think it's important for us to think of how we use those metaphors, a budget, the accountancy. We bring all the financial system into our ecological reasoning as it is very natural to just make this transition. And we know that nature is not a bank, it should not be a bank. So we should think it is a much more enlivened way. But again, back to the veil, no? So because it's very hard to speak openly about the big transformation we are going through with the coming of artificial intelligence, and then I'm going to go back to this later on, but the automation of production systems, the massive unemployment that is coming our way, how more and more humans are becoming obsolete in the kind of technocratic society that we are allowing to be established. The climate becomes this big veil that we are so afraid of the coming apocalypse, and how do you say the talks about the end of the world, the scatological biblical narratives that we are embracing by science, that we just give our freedom away. And we accept the big surveillance and panopticon and censorship regime that is being imposed in the name of climate. Because more and more, you are just excluded from the conversation if you raise any kind of question. For instance, you mentioned CO2, that I refer the carbon as the carbon matrix, as, how we install like a software in our minds that eradicates all kinds of knowledge that can compete with this way of seeing the world. And in this sense, more and more we see how now methane it's becoming a big thing, because it's another gas out of the periodic table of elements, but it's directly connected to food and farming, because methane, it's much more damaging to the atmosphere, but in terms of intensity. But of course, it does not last as long as CO2. And of course, we have a new satellite, the US satellite, that so far is the only one able to correctly measure the methane. And of course, we have the creation of a methane global market. So it's all kind of reproducing the same blueprint to sell more acceptable control, a control that is more and more also selling off the very constellations, the very sky we look upon, in the name of this forthcoming, end of the world narrative that is very, very depoliticized in the practical terms. We're not talking anymore about the traditional GMOs, if I dare to say that. We're talking about gene editing, gene editing at a level that, technology was not able before. And we're gene editing, species, be it for meat production, for protein production, or for seeds. And this has major impacts in the future, and how those interactions are going to happen. But this is not a debate that younger generations are having anymore about, the dark side of just playing with the genetic infrastructure of our world. So I don't know. I think it's, again, we need to bring the discussion about technology and the transhuman agenda back, or once and for all, to the center of conversation, because it's many layers of massive transformations going on under the umbrella of climate, and we need to peel this onion, because it's like a matryoshka, the Russian doll. Reality is not as you see. You have one level within the other, and that forms the whole of the big issue that we need to deal. And it's being accelerated in a way that I don't know how and in what terms can we forge a social movement right now with the generations that we have that are ready to engage in political process. Because the critique of globalization, that was something that anti-neoliberal globalization, a movement that we had, again, in the beginning of the 2000s, today, I see it is very hard to bring about as we had before, because the very climate narrative is, after all, a celebration of globalization, because the environmental movement that is engaged in this extreme climate narrative, they cannot think outside the box of globalization. The only solutions that they think are reasonable are the ones that push even further the globalization agenda. I think the regen, in fact, regenerates the big agribusiness more than anything. And for me, the big difference regarding the regen brand is that it's all based in this new carbon finance. So actually, you keep on the practice you had before. You may bring some, I don't know, ammonia made out of hydrogen, to keep feeding your monoculture. But the big difference is that you have access now to a whole new package of finance and insurance. Very important, the insurance that is coming not from the traditional channels that you had to finance agricultural policy in nation states, but you are accessing this new venture capital funds that push forward, the decentralization of the control for farming. And this has wide implications because, let's say, you have a government in UK, you elected, that is financing some kind of change in the farms that people don't agree. And then the next election, they vote them out and they want to change. You can only change when the nation state still has some control about the financing of food and farming. If you change the government by a democratic election, but all the food and farming in UK is already on the hands of this venture capital that is decentralized, that I don't know, maybe it's in Singapore, maybe it's on the Emirates, maybe some parties in Wall Street. It doesn't matter that you change the government because, the finance is not public finance anymore. It's not connected to stages of control within your very country. So at the end, the democratic process, and this is happening in different sectors of our economy, in health, especially with telehealth, It's going forward really fast. What's the point of changing the elected officials, because you don't have the control about the structure? So I think this is the big thing with the regen agriculture, that is, it's becoming a cool place for venture capitalism and new and emerging extreme tech, as for instance AI, automated systems for farming, for spraying pesticides, for, we have AI automated systems for war. So why not, to expand those? And I mean, I'm not promoting this, to be clear, I'm just being ironic here, that this is becoming the new thinking, instead of leaving to the margin of error of humans and their petty interests and petty fights, why not just give the control and the governance to AI wise and science informed overarching systems, and I think this is the big threat that comes with the narrative. But I agree entirely with you that the big threat, if the system collapses, how we're going to feed ourselves. And what is the alternative? I think the alternatives is going back to the basics, and the basics is land. The land, the seeds. Now we cannot forget about the control of seeds that we can keep, that we can reproduce, that we can freely exchange, is the basics of everything. We need to have the animals back on the land because they are our fertilizers, and we need to have people that can have the knowledge how to deal with the systems. And of course, the whole water thing, that is, essentially, when I talk about land, it's also with water. This cannot be solved in terms of the massiveness that we need, unless we start to address the need to de-urbanize, because urbanization is not only our physical urbanization, that we move to London and start to, enlarge big cities, but there are people that are still in small cities, but they are urbanized in their mindsets. And what we need is to recover what is this rural pace of life, the rural ethics, the rural, the cycle of nature, the cycle of the year, the festivities. Now we were going to have the equinox, the solstice. Those are all, the calendar that we needed to have to synchronize ourselves with the land, with nature and its cycles, and planetary cycles, and solar agriculture and lunar agriculture. There are different traditions in the East and the West that have been taken very seriously, long-term patterns of climate change that happened in the past, and we need to learn how to live with them, because we are not, super powerful entities that can shift the entire climate, of the planet. But we can manage with our hands and our knowledge the local, and rebuild the local conditions for a climate. And instead, we should not focus on megalomania, infrastructures of technological geoengineering or carbon sequestration at scale, because those are doomed to fail, and those are very energy intensive, reliant. And we could start right away with changes that are within our capacity and rely on a human scale. Because I think at the end, if we are really fighting, our big fight, at least my big fight, is against the transhumanist agenda. I think first commandment is to return to the human scale, because it's only within the human scale and the human scale of a human time, lifespan, that we can rebuild meaning and cohesion and fabric for the society that we'll need to rebuild from the madness that we are, towards a different, truly regenerative and truly sovereign and emancipated way of living back in the land.